Our sun is not unique. In fact, it's a very, very ordinary star. The sun is the most obvious object in the sky, and I think it's understood that without it we couldn't live. It's our source of heat. And so there have been rituals of worship throughout the ages, but I don't find that very unusual. The only really unusual ritual that I'm aware of is a modern ritual, where people take off their clothes and lie on the beach and just absorb all this sun and probably increase their probability of getting cancer, which is difficult to understand. But that's the most unusual thing I know.
I can tell you about one other.
Yes?
There's something magical about light, and civilizations have worshipped the sun. It's sort of cutting out the middleman of energy. You can eat a cow which ate, the wheat. If you eat the wheat, well then you're more directly to the sun. Well, what happens if you just eat the sun? That's energy. So you're going right to the source. You stare at the sun for about 9 months until you reach 44 minutes. I do not know why 44 minutes is a magic number. 44 minutes is when your mind is supposedly fully charged. The actual energy I'm starting to feel is becoming richer and richer. I feel as though I'm just on the edge of something huge and wonderful. In our school, there are constantly flyers up for different events, and the flyer read something about your brain can become like a solar battery. You can become solar powered.
First I heard about HRM. I was attending an international conference. I said, what is so important about him? He says, he has not eaten for over 400 days. I said, come on now, it can't be that.
Even if you pay me $1 billion, I will not eat. And this is what I have just revived. I have no claim that I have discovered it. It is only a revival of an old practice which was all over the world. My name is Hiraratan Manek, and in West now I am known as only HRM. I can't say exactly when I stopped solid food. It was prior to June 95, because accidentally hunger disappeared and I was remaining only on few liquids. But from 18 June 95, it's a recorded fact that I have not taken any solid food till date, and my entire life I am not going to take any solid food.
What he represents is somebody who has been under serious study by a team of neurologists, and I did meet and spend time with Dr. Sudhir Shah, who led a team that studied HRM for a full year under very rigid conditions.
I was very skeptical, and as I said, I thought it was quite ridiculous that a man would be doing 411 days fasting and remaining only on boiled water, and the survival is not known.
It was round the clock supervised by medical team, international medical team, and that is why the world is excited now.
We did his ECG, electrocardiography, every month. We did his CT scan and MRI of the brain. We did his electroencephalogram of the brain. We did his genetic testing. We did his chromosomal study. We did his hair sampling. We did extensive biochemical studies, hormonal levels, and endocrinal levels, and so many things we did as the time passed. We made it sure that he had no access to food by any means.
He didn't use the word fasting, which was very interesting, because not eating was a kind of a result. That was not his goal. His goal was totally different. But something happened.
When we were analyzing his results, we didn't really find abnormality anywhere except this finding of MRI which showed enlarged pineal gland.
And this in and of itself is a very interesting finding because it implies that this is different than what a quote-unquote normal person would be. There are several areas that are particularly involved up in the brain that help to regulate most of our body's basic functions, including the pineal gland. So if someone were able to actually cause those parts of the brain to be more active than typical, then it's possible that how we maintain ourselves could potentially be altered.
You know, I've looked for people who've done this and I can't find them. I had as many questions as you had. All I wanted was for someone to tell me it was going to be okay. And that's what I didn't have. And I'll tell you, it'll be okay. So I just posted this like a week ago. Those are just some of my experiences. These are just my experiences on the website there. You know, I ride my bike to school every day. I ski, I'm active, I go surfing, you know, I'm young, I want to live life, you know? So, you know, in talking to HRM, what's going to be the deal? Can your body do this? And he's like, yeah, it's just energy. I'm not quite finished. I still have a couple more months, but my hunger is gone.
So how many minutes, seconds right now you do?
37 minutes.
37 minutes?
Yeah, so I just stand there.
I've never
It's all in your mind.
No, I know.
No, you don't know. Yeah, I spent 2 days with HRM, just the two of us, you know, just shooting the shit. And now I'm at a point where it's so many more minutes, you know, 38 minutes versus 2 minutes is huge. And the sensations have been unbelievable. When I was at 20, I was like, imagine when I'm at 30. Well, I couldn't have imagined what I'm feeling now, but now that I'm at 38, you know, imagine what happens if I get to 44. Hard to imagine.
There are people who believe that you can't look at the sun without harm. But if you meet people like Mason Dwinell, as well as HRM, then you can't say it can't be. And it is their inveterate belief that has led them into exploring this and establishing the possibility of a new truth.
Well, this is Mason, and maybe Mason could tell you what he was doing down there.
I was staring into the sun. I haven't eaten since September 11th, but I'm feeling good.
Wow.
It's not as if you fast. You feel better not eating. September 2003, 1:30 a.m. I haven't eaten in 10 days. Spoke to my sister last night about Thanksgiving. As much as I want to see my family in Vermont, I don't really want to hear all the chatter about me not eating. I've decided not to go.
He is a very driven person when he has a sight on something that he wants to pursue. Initially growing up, it seemed as though all of his energies were focused on his skiing. He wrapped himself up in skiing, so he pushed himself physically.
When he was 3, 4, he would ski for hours at a time and go way up in the hills and the mountains, following me along. Just amazing amount of energy and drive, competitive spirit. When Mason was in his teenage years, he took up ski jumping very seriously.
Mason's goal was to make it to the Olympics in Nordic combine, and so that was his life. When Mason didn't make it to the Olympics, I think he was really disappointed and sort of directionless. But I think he was ready to start something new.
I think that when he started sun gazing is when you could really see that he's captured something. You know, here's a goal, you know, there's something that I want to achieve. And I think that it's really given him a focus.
On the downside of all that, he seems to be much more judgmental, much more, he has found the path, and why are the rest of you so foolish as to not have found the path?
His change that I noticed as he continued to sun gaze, he became more inward, focusing more on physical sensation, mental thought, detracting from more social events. I first met, a down-home mountain boy from Vermont. By the end of the relationship, he was quite a changed person. With the first couple hours of the day, he was in his own self. At the end hours of the day, the same program in reverse happens. He was in his own daily regimen, his program. I was not included, unless I wanted to participate fully with his thoughts and ideas and way of life. I started to feel shut out.
I just was overwhelmed with, what is going on in my world. And I definitely went back to eating food. And it wasn't, I wasn't hungry, but I wasn't physically hungry, like my stomach wasn't saying eat. It was more like I was emotionally disturbed and I was reaching out for something, for anything, just putting in me. There seems to be so much that's beautiful about family and sharing. That I am just questioning the concept of going so far against, societal pressures to be away from that. Be away from the beauty of family and just embracing something together like a meal. And so then I go back into myself. I'm like, well, why am I doing this? I'm just pounding on myself, putting myself out there. And, what is the goal? I wasn't convinced that, when we talked to HRM and when I hung out with them and we heard him lecture, that we really got to the core of who that guy was. I'd like to really talk to more people who stare at the sun, and I'd really like to meet some people who don't eat, besides, a 67-year-old guy from India. I'd like to meet some folks closer to my age. I want to just hang out with them and see what their deal is. I want to see are they existing in society comfortably, normally, or are they sitting out on a rock somewhere just all by themselves? I want to go meet these people. I want to find them. And I believe they're out there.
I can't tell you how excited I am to find this list group.
I just can't emphasize enough the changes in my life that I lost 25 pounds, and my wife says I look 15 years younger.
I have type 2 diabetes, and now my blood sugar levels are normal. Remarkable, just as HRM says.
Has anyone noticed their breast size getting bigger?
My eyesight improved. I no longer use glasses.
Well, I stopped having bowel movements.
HRM says that he doesn't anymore.
After only 3 months of sun gazing, 4 years of pain in my legs has gone completely away.
It's like living a new life.
We had the settlement conference this morning, and the good news is that the case settled. You're always trying to shave a little bit off, right? My name's Julia Swanson, and I live in Hollywood. I live in the heart of Hollywood, Something in me responds to this Hollywood beat. I'm an attorney. I work for an auto insurance company. It's deadline driven. The volume is huge. The pace is constant. But that first day, after 5 minutes of sun gazing, that first day, I was driving home. It was about 6 o'clock. I felt as though I had just got up that morning. But this was a different kind of energy. It was like a power source. It was filling up my gas tank. I was at a fuel station and it was filling me up. So the next day, of course, I was up there again and the same thing happened. Come, the end of the day, I wasn't tired, I wasn't stressed. I was at the office till 10 or 11 at night. And then when I got home, I realized, I never had dinner, but I'm not that hungry. And that was amazing. I started off with that 5 minutes, and then I tried to hold on to that for about a month or so, and then I jumped up to 10. And I kept reading what HRM said about, 10 seconds each day, but it's my personality, I can't help it. When you're looking at the sun, instantly your awareness of yourself and what you've got to do and all that kind of thing, it just vanishes. It's like the world stops. You don't just become quietly passive and sweet and everything's okay. It's rather you step into your life. Your life becomes 4 or 5 times the size because you've got 4 or 5 times the energy. I mean, that's what it's all about. When you turn away from the sun, you've got the after image. And for my first couple of days doing this, I got really scared because I thought that I had done something. I would see yellow patches all day long, but of course it gradually goes away.
So why do you sun gaze?
Because when I first read your website, why not? I was never worried about my eyes because I trusted the website. I trusted Mason. I was so impressed with the way that it was put together. He had so many people on there talking about their experience. He talked about his experience. And it had so much integrity on the site. And I thought somebody like that is not going to steer me wrong. And if he can do it, I can do it.
It was kind of wild meeting Julia, especially after her reaction when she found out that I was the author of what inspired her to get into sun gazing. I felt definitely responsible at some level, which was kind of eerie.
Mason, first of all, I would like to thank you for changing my life. I've experienced no hunger or thirst for weeks now. My grades in school have increased to the point that actually I'm thinking about dropping out to pursue a life of enlightened thought. My parents think I'm crazy. I don't think I really even need them anymore, at least now that I've got sun gazing to take their place. I do have a few questions, however. What happens if it's raining? Can I watch a video recording of the sun? Can sun gazing enhance sexual performance? What type of incense do you use? I tried to get my dog to sun gaze with me. It seemed to be working great for weeks, until I stopped feeding him. Do you ever feel superior to the rest of the world? I sure do.
Bend your underwear around backwards. Here, John, hey!
My name's Jason Wharton, and I live in Mesa, Arizona.
Try these on, Ben.
And I've been sun gazing for about 4 or 5 months, and I'm up to about 16 and a half minutes.
Getting all these children ready for church is like at least a half a day's work.
I first heard about sun gazing just doing searches on the internet. You know, hearing of some of the people's experiences. Some people's appetites do eventually go away, and that lets you know that wow, this isn't just some kooky thing that I'm reading about on the internet. Here's a real person that I'm interacting with who's actually experiencing the results that are spoken of. And so for me, it made it much more real. A lot of people kind of get the idea that maybe, Mormons are kind of closed-minded, very restrictive. In fact, we have an article of faith. If there's anything praiseworthy of good report, that we seek after these things. And so for me, my religion, I look for ways that it's real, that it applies to me personally, it applies to my life and my family. And to me, sun gazing just seems to fit right in. When I sun gaze, I follow HRM's method, and I've added 10 seconds each night that I do it. And of course, I'm barefoot on bare earth. In the Bible, we learn about Adam and Eve, and we learn that they fell. And the means by which they fell was they ate a certain food that more or less made them then cut off from whatever source they formerly were receiving their sustenance from, and then now it's this food consumption-based system. And so perhaps the fall of Adam and Eve simply was eating food in such a way that our body is now needs to eat food and more food and more food. And so I'm thinking that whatever it was that happened during the fall and cutting themselves off from this energy source, I see sun gazing as potentially a way to bring us back from that pure state that Adam and Eve fell from. I was going through the topical guide, actually looking into things that would be on the subject of solar gazing, and this one was like a perfect fit. Just stood right out. It's in the Doctrine and Covenants, and I think I marked it. Yep, here it is. Doctrine and Covenants, section 88, verse 67. Goes, "And if your eye be single to my glory, your whole bodies shall be filled with light. And there shall be no darkness in you. And that body which is filled with light comprehendeth all things." Pretty well blew me away. That's cool scripture. So who knows, maybe I'll comprehend all things. You're dealing with things on a higher spiritual level when you're participating with sun gazing. Because our mind is very powerful, and sun gazing is a means of directly feeding our mind. I see sun gazing as a way to move us up to the next level, because now instead of having to eat other animals and other plants, we can receive the nourishment and the energy that we need directly from the sun. I've been a little bit nervous about that, thinking, well, is this a way for me to rush into something that maybe I'm not ready for? Or is this just, am I maybe just pioneering and being kind of a forerunner and an example for something that is very positive, very beneficial? And that's my hope.
Jason is an interesting guy because he lives a different life than I lived. So it was kind of neat, meeting where we met in the arena of sun gazing. We definitely had something in common in the grand scheme of being pioneers with sun gazing, or pioneers with not eating food in some sort of evolution. But we are different people.
Only in the last few years have a number of scientific teams working somewhat independently discovered the presence of a different type of photoreceptor in the retina. Up until now, everyone assumed that we had cones and rods, but there's another type of receptor that's been discovered that's located in a neural layer of the retina that has a different neural pathway, different nerve pathway back to the brain, and has a line to the pineal body in the brain, and that's responsible for controlling a lot of our key hormones. It's a very exciting area of current research.
So you guys are mad scientists in here.
Oh, well, some people think so.
What do we have here?
Yeah, this is the Ubesun Solar Simulator, and it was invented by Professor Mutzhaus in Germany. And unfortunately he passed away. But this not only can simulate the sun's output of UV, but we can cut off different wavelength regions. For example, UVA, UVB, or we could cut off and just have UVA1 light come out of it.
So I can get a tan just right here.
Well, you
Right?
could, yes, but
Isn't that how it works?
yes. I wouldn't do it though, because you need to have goggles on to protect your eyes. At least.
Do you wear sunglasses?
Well, actually, my glasses have UV protection on them, but we also have goggles that protect your eyes on the sides. So we wear these.
So is this more dangerous than the sun?
Well, yes, I would say so because the output is a bit higher, quite a bit higher.
This is higher than the sun.
Yes. It simulates.
This is stronger than the sun, but it's so little.
Yes, it is. But it has 5,000 watts, so it's very powerful.
So you shouldn't stare into that.
Oh, definitely not.
No. How about staring at the sun?
Not during the daylight hours.
I read that the sun gazers claim that if you do that, that you won't have to eat again. I don't think that that's going to be biochemically possible. Well, the Public Health Service actually recommends that people wear sunscreen of SPF 15 or higher, but it's best to avoid the sun between the hours of 10 to 3, because remember, sunscreens are only formulated to prevent sunburn. And as scientists have found, you can prevent sunburn, but still get up to half the effects of DNA damage, immune suppression, and you can still get skin cancer even though it has been reduced. So, I mean, it is a good idea to use sunscreen when you can't avoid the sun. And the Public Health Service also recommends that people wear broad-brimmed hats whenever possible, and sunglasses, and protective clothing.
Over my life, I've often suspected conspiracy, but in the end, it's almost always incompetence. The single most important fact about vitamin D, the single most important fact about vitamin D is if you take your clothes off and put on your bathing suit and go outside in the summertime, you make about 20,000 units of vitamin D. Now that's the single most important fact because it tells you something about the system, the human body. Nature designed a system that gives you 100 times more than the government says you need. Now why would she do that? You know, if we only needed 200 units of vitamin D, well then why would nature design a system that gives us 20,000 units of vitamin D? And the reason is because it's much more important than anyone ever realized.
February 2004, 4:12 p.m. I'm now up to 38 minutes, but it's been difficult to sun gaze and not eat while on the road. So far, I've yet to meet one person who is further along in this sun gazing than I am. I hope to meet up with Vinny Pinto, the guy who started the Yahoo sun gazing list group. He's been sun gazing for years, and I'm interested to hear what he has to say.
Morning, Polly. Morning, Polly. Morning, Polly. I have 4 guinea hens, and I can't tell them apart, so I call them all Polly. They're all Polly. I guess I had the first
positive website in the Western world on sun gazing, but for many years mine was the only website presenting the fact that there is also a deliberate act called sun gazing, which some people engage in, whether for physical or spiritual inner reasons, and that it does not seem to harm people, and that indeed this has been done throughout many cultures and many systems and traditions and religions for many thousands of years, perhaps since the beginning of time.
Well, Mason, I know people on the list talk about all kinds of things they do when they're sun gazing. That'd be too much work for me. My portable, simple mind couldn't keep up with that. Me, I just stare at the sun.
I guess I had heard about sun gazing on and off from a number of sources for years. Jean Savoy used to run full-page and even four-page ads for a school and a teaching system he was offering called Project X. Jean would mention sun gazing in these ads prominently, but he's one of the few people who's larger than life, and apparently, even according to People magazine, he was the mold, he was the archetype that led to the whole Indiana Jones movies. My diet at this point and for the last 4 years is a diet that's largely Paleolithic, meaning largely only the foods that our ancestors would have had available to them about 1 million years ago, and largely raw.
This is raw beef. It's organic, pasture-fed or grass-fed beef from nearby farms. So I go through phases. A lot of times I just eat meat raw, and then I'll get really bored with that taste, and I want a sauce. So I'm making a raw sauce right now.
I would say that it is not a rote rule that when you get to 12 to 20 minutes of sun gazing, if you're doing that HRM method, that all of your emotional and mental problems will be gone, and that by 30 minutes all of your physical problems will be gone, and that by 40 minutes you'll not only be at least 10 or 20 years younger than your biological age, but you'll also just be far healthier, and that by 44 minutes you'll be without food. I say, give me a break.
Anything in particular about what he said resonate or stand out? No.
I feel it is my duty to the world to let everyone know the truth about HRM. He presents a public image of himself as a gentle old man, as a loving person. It is too easy to see him as helpless because his English is not good, but he is no less ruthless than any American philandering womanizer. The man fed me such a string of lies about love for over a year, leading me to believe he still cared and that I should still wait to be with him, which again turned out to be a lie. Let the truth be known. Sincerely and in absolute truth, Sunny.
The message of sun gazing is spreading very quickly. Oh, I am now in San Francisco yoga studio where this evening I am giving a lecture. Then tomorrow I am going to Sacramento. Then again on 7th I am giving a lecture here in another yoga studio. Then I am going to Oregon. From there I am going to Seattle. Then by about July 15th or 16th I am reaching Vancouver, Canada, and from there I am touring Calgary, Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, and then finally I reach back Orlando by this month end.
But you're telling people that you don't eat and you haven't eaten in 10 years? Is that true?
Yeah, it's true, and I have been investigated by medical experts several times. 211 days they examined me only on water. Then the 21 doctors international team chaired by Indian Medical Association president examined me 411 days only on water. Then later 130 days fast I did in United States where I was investigated by doctors and scientists of 2 universities in Pennsylvania, that is Thomas Jefferson and UPenn. And so when a person who can remain for 411 days continuously on water, then these are the proofs that I am having. And I I also say that occasionally I do take tea or coffee or buttermilk in addition to water, but no solid foods at all.
No.
Hey, what happened? Did you get a shot? No, all I got was a cup of coffee.
My name is Andrea. I am 11 years old. I got started doing sun gazing. My stepdad saw something on the internet, and so I tried it too. I haven't told any of my friends about sun gazing because if you think, oh, well, it's gonna hurt my eyes, then it might, but I believe it and it doesn't bother me. Since I've been sun gazing, I haven't been as hungry. I told my aunt, and she's like, well, I hope that you're still going to eat, but I don't know. I'm not that hungry lately, so I'm probably not going to eat.
My interest has been for many years longevity, why people die. That was basically the quest I was born with. And I was also born with another strange thing compared to normal people. I didn't like to eat. I absolutely didn't like to eat. I didn't understand why people ate. I don't know where it came from, but it was the way it was. As you become more healthy, more energy flows through the system, then you become more sensitive. So at my stage of the game, I've been doing this for years, I got to the point where my energy was so high, one, I can't live with anybody. As you can see, my nearest neighbor is several miles away. Now, I'm not here because I like to be alone. It's just that I can't live with anybody. I'm 67 years old, and I've been gazing in the sun for a long time. I own recording studios, and I recorded people like Led Zeppelin, Iron Butterfly, and Jimi Hendrix are some of my clients. Around the time I was working with Jimi Hendrix in New York is really the time I got really inspired, because when he passed away, as many of my clients did, I just became obsessed with the idea of finding out why we die. And so as I looked around, I noticed most of the people that actually had any knowledge about this type of thing always fasted. So I decided to try fasting to see what would happen. And sure enough, the first fast I did, which was about 10 days, I ended up having 10 times more energy. I happened to be living at the time on Muscle Beach in California, where the bodybuilders work out. And I decided one day to go out and see if I could lift any weight. So I went out to the weightlifting pin, I started putting on the weights. And the first time I was out, I noticed as I put the plates on, the weights got lighter. So the very first time I walked into the weightlifting pen, I ended up with 800 pounds on the bar. At the time, we had Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. T, a lot of the other, professional bodybuilders, and to them, I was sort of like a joke because I'm a little skinny guy lifting all that weight. But when I started lifting 1,100 pounds of weight, I started to get a little attention. Before I fasted, I couldn't lift probably 50 pounds. I never even tried to. So then I had a whole new direction to look in, because now I needed to find out why it is I eat less, and suddenly, without any other disciplines, I'm 10 times stronger. We eat because we don't have enough energy. But what happens when you're in the sun, which is a natural energy for all living things, right? When you have enough sun, then the energy in the body rises to the point where you don't have an appetite, so there's no need to eat. That doesn't mean I have not been eating for 30 years. My purpose for eating is to lower my frequencies, not to increase it. It's almost like, for me, it's necessary to not be too healthy, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to go out and be anywhere. I might want to pull it a little lower, maybe. We want to use the smaller 45.
Well, we're going to put a whole bunch on there.
Yeah,
like
put
1,000
more
pounds.
weights. But you want to put, well, I don't know, about 1,000. No. Are you kidding?
Well, we'll see what we
Let's see what we can do. If I can lift the bar, I'll be happy. And I did lift the bar.
How many hours do you sleep a week, Wiley?
Well, I normally sleep 1 to 7 hours a week. And I mean, some nights I sleep 1 hour, some nights I sleep a little more.
What do you do with all that time?
Well, that's the thing. I hate to admit it, but I get a little bored once in a while. I know you're not supposed to if you're spiritually enhanced. Fasting is basically a belief system. I mean, whether one eats or not is a belief system, without a doubt. I discovered that is the belief system that controls our lives. For example, ask anybody, what do you think would happen if you don't have any food? Right off the bat, they say, I will die. But I never warm up, I never exercise, so I should just warm up a tiny bit. Oh man.
Want to go walk on the treadmill a little bit?
I lifted 500 pounds of weight to demonstrate that the lifting of the weight basically has to do with the amount of energy that flows through the system. At my age, even I can still lift, at least 500 or 600 pounds. So that was the demonstration. And I also learned that I probably should exercise a little more.
The goal with the eating or non-eating concept of sun gazing over the last couple weeks have been definitely riding me. It takes me even to a place of, how much lonelier do I want to be? Wiley Brooks' whole take that food is kryptonite, I totally see where he's coming from, that it's poisoning us at some level. I really believe that the emptier you are, the more light you can take in. How do you feel? How do I feel? Good. Pretty unique sensation in the back of my head. A little something new today. Yeah? Yeah, something's getting energized back there, for sure.
My first introduction to sun gazing came through a well-known sun gazer. I saw an ad at least 10 years ago. I know spending time with the sun gazer teacher and also other people who did sun gazing gave me that illusion of safety and ultimately caused me to probably have the greatest tragedy of my life. My vision was extremely distorted. There was an accordion effect. It was like the visual field was compressed in some places and expanded in other places. There was a disassociation between the brain and the visual perception. What I saw, I couldn't understand. And I asked myself, well, why did I get injured when other people benefit so greatly? And what is the truth about this whole subject? I contacted the sun gazing teacher after injuring my eyes. I got no support. I was out on my own.
You don't wear glasses?
No.
Contacts?
No.
Okay, just look out of your right eye.
HVTGAO. ZHB. Something CV. So last night I stared into the sun for half an hour.
Wow. And it doesn't hurt?
No.
No?
Felt pretty good. Do you recommend that?
I wouldn't do it. I'm gonna go ahead and take your eye pressure now. So,
How do you do that?
I'm gonna use a tono pen, so I'm gonna numb your eye.
So you're putting some anesthetic into my eye?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like it's very good for me.
Okay, can you lean back?
Does this go back?
No, just lean your head back.
This is the worst my eyes have felt since I started this thing.
And just look straight ahead, okay?
Yeah.
Hey, look straight ahead.
You just touched my eye?
Yeah. Did you feel it?
No. Can you pour that stuff over your whole body? Dr. Gonzalez. How's it going? I've been staring at the sun since December, and it's been slow increments starting at 10 seconds a day, and then adding that every day to 10, 20, 30. So it's been about 10 months, and I'm up to almost 40 minutes.
And you have no visual complaints whatsoever? No.
Sharper, actually. Arguably, I'm seeing more colors, and my vision is arguably sharper than it has been before.
Okay. Can I ask the reason why you're doing this?
Yeah, why am I doing this? I'm still working on that.
Basically, people do start to experience damage after 90 seconds of looking at the sun, and there's a lot of different factors that go into how much damage occurs. It's variable in different people.
Blood pressure 112/72. Right on. It's now almost fully dilated. Yeah. Now you're ready for the test.
When she puts the needle in, while she's injecting, I'm going to be shooting rather rapidly. I need you to wait for the flash before you blink. We're ready to get ready to inject. Go. Perfect. Follow it. Steady. Okay, that's the angiogram.
But what would you conclude that by looking now you have the photos?
Well, it looks like a large diffuse burn in the macula.
Do you think that would have been there before?
No. That's definitely not a normal finding.
Look up and to the right. Basically, he has pretty significant damage to the retinal pigment epithelial cells. Up and to the left. In terms of his vision, I am actually surprised that he does not have any symptoms. I don't think there's ever a safe time to look at the sun.
You know, a piece of me died when she gave me those results, for sure. One, that I was injured, and two, that, you know, I was sharing this with so many other people, and then, you know, instantly it was on my conscience of, I'm gonna have to change how I express this practice, because yeah, you can hurt your eyes. It was a little bit confusing to have the proof that there was a burn on my macula, but yet I felt fine and I could see fine. And then it became more confusing when the sun seemed too bright to stare at over a length of time. And I didn't know what to relate that to, if that was something inside of me that had switched, that I was really now scared I could damage my eyes more. I certainly am not interested in going further until I reassess what my goals are with it and what I'm doing. You know, it's wild to be so completely immersed in the concept of sun gazing and actual sun gazing every day for, you know, 8 or 9 months and then suddenly stop.
People wonder why I stand alone and watch the sky every day. They don't understand I have no home, that just can't be no other way. Because you see, I'm lonely, and that's the way it gotta be.
I still believe the sun gazing practice is awesome. The sensations that I felt over the past bunch of months were real, but it is always reaffirming and helpful to talk to other folks that have gone down that road. If there's just at least one person who's done it, that means it's possible.
We do pray to Thee, O God, to anoint Thy children's eyes and bodies for truth and for wisdom, to give Thee thanks, and must plead with Thee at the dawning of the light. Heal us, O God, with Thy rays of light. Breathe us strong and righteous, receive Thee as our celestial Christ, our only Savior and Redeemer, who shines on us, and may receive a gentle baptism of light. I became known as an explorer. I found numerous lost temples and cities, and I had read about secret priesthoods of the sun that lived to great ages, and I was trying to figure out how those priests could live longer than normal people based on the sun, and what was it? So instead of reading about it, because you could find no literature on it, I had to experience it for myself. So I became a sun gazer, I suppose you could call it that. But I found out through experience that there was more to the power of the sun than just looking at it. I quested after the knowledge that I could find in the light of the sun.
The techniques that we employ are fundamental as well as advanced. We've been doing that since we were born, and prior to, because both of our parents were doing it at the same time. So imagine if alcohol affects you if you're in the womb, well then therefore sunlight must also. Because sunlight affects you on the cellular level, therefore on the genetic level. So for me, solar viewing is a matter of something completely natural. It's second nature. Now, how do we employ solar viewing for a purpose, for our own spiritual growth? That becomes a liturgical question.
So be it, the divine service is completed, for which we give thanks unto thee.
The early church was a solar religion. What happened subsequently with Rome, when they outlawed and they banned looking at the sun, it changed the church. Because the early Christians were looking at the sun.
The only way that an individual can understand what Jesus was doing was to look at the sun. You had to understand what he was doing. Why was he doing it? Why did they look at the sun? Because they wanted to bring faculties, spiritual faculties that were normally dormant in the individual awake. And once those faculties were awake, they could then understand and comprehend what he was doing. I think that's the real power of the message of Jesus. That's the real power.
The physical sun is a gateway to another world, to another sun. There is the sun behind the sun, and that is the objective. That is the goal. How you use the physical sun to get there is a very highly advanced process.
It is scientific. This whole system is scientific in the sense that the more energy you can take into your system, the more you have to learn how to decode it, how to use it. If you don't look at the sun properly with the right attitude and you don't know how to distinguish between the positive and the negative, or the creative and the destructive forces, it can just consume you.
Journey and quest of meeting all these people, it's just been unreal. It's enlightening at a lot of levels and confusing at a lot of levels, because we get so many different opinions. I get lost in it because it's all right, or it's, nothing is right and nothing's wrong. It's all, what do you believe? Every day there's a moment that, there's usually more than one, that I definitely look forward to with the same amount of internal passion as I had when I first began this, and when I first began a lot of things, to tap into human potential, or my human potential, like finish the sun gazing, don't eat for a while, and benefit, taste all the benefits physiologically and mentally that I get from not putting anything in me. So, we'll see when I get in a stable place, or just make that firm decision, get off the fence and commit to, all right, let's go. But until then, I'm just sort of waffling. Never got to 44 minutes. I'm still about a month and a half short. And now that I'm finally, this close, I'm just that much more afraid of it. Knowing that it's possible and the benefits that come from the time is remarkable. At what point am I going to practice what I preach and walk my talk?
When I got intrigued with light and I started looking at the historical information about light, of course it mentioned to me the Incans, the Aztecs, the Egyptians. Everybody looked at the sun. Everybody looked at the sun. Here today, don't look at the sun, you'll burn your eyeballs out. For me, sun gazing was interesting in that as I found that I was able to do it longer, I could allow more of the light to enter without really not only not harming my eyes, but my eyesight improved. You see, the eye has all of these blood vessels inside. And every 2 hours, 100% of the new blood volume is pumped through the eyes. If you're outdoors, if you're sun gazing, this blood is being irradiated with light. No light, a lot of that food that goes in, no matter how organic and how rich it is with vitamins and minerals, it goes in one end and out the other. In other words, that particular substance has to interact with a certain portion of the light spectrum in order to be ignited into the metabolic process. I had an experience in 1994. I met a whole group of people in Australia that were living without eating, which was a no-no based on all of the scientific training that I had. But in December of that year, I in fact did an experiment. Of course, I didn't go into it as an experiment. I mean, I had the feeling I'm just going to stop eating. But I did this and I didn't eat for 9 weeks. And so one of the things that I discovered is, one, I could go 8 days without drinking. 2, you can live without eating. There's no question about it. It's not a theory from me, nothing I need to prove. I know it firsthand. I did it. I lived with people that did it. I have friends of mine that didn't eat for over a year. So I know that that's possible. You lose your desire for food. I also know that if you believe that if you don't eat, you'll die, then if you stop eating, you'll probably die. But if you have the experience as I had, that you don't eat, and not only do you live, but you've got high levels of energy, you sleep just as well, the body feels good. Nothing changes in terms of anything you do, you're just not eating. Well, something changes, it's very powerful actually. You are consistently confronted by the aspects of your life that we muffle away by eating. So you asked the question before about, is there anything to do? There's nothing to do. However, there's no way of stopping yourself of doing what you're doing. Because that's part of your engine just doing its thing. I mean, if an awakening happened today, nothing in your life would change. Well, the truth is, no matter what I tell you, it's not the truth. The only part that's searching for an answer is the part that can never hear the answer. The mind wants to know, is it this way, is it this way? We're never going to know anything. The only thing we know is what's our own direct experience.
August 2004, 3:30 a.m. It's been a few months of no sun gazing, but my curiosity is greater than my fears, and I believe that the sun is not going to harm me. I've decided to make the final push to complete HRM's 44-minute protocol. I'm staying with a friend north of Lake Tahoe. It's taken about 3 weeks of sun gazing to ramp back up to 40 minutes. I've gone 10 days without eating. Things are changing. I'm believing again. See those white things there?
I'm going to be to the right of him.
You think your whole life started over just by walking out my door, and I don't believe it. You don't remember holding hands, 'cause it felt too much like war, and I don't believe it. You think today is somehow different when you lived through it before, and I don't believe it.
Today will be 42 minutes, 50 seconds.
Yeah, I was curious. I wanted more. I mean, it's sort of like a drug, but it's not only is it pleasant being in the sunrise and sunsets of the day, but I was curious about HRM, and I wanted to see what would happen to me.
Looking at the sun for long periods of time can activate the spiritual faculties. Just looking at the sun isn't going to achieve anything. It has to be a science. This idea that you can live off the light of the sun, that it's food, is a bunch of nonsense. The food that it gives is spiritual, not physical. You want to live off the light of the sun? You can do it. Nothing wrong in that. Are you going to live forever? That's another question.
My whole little philosophy is that faith comes after knowledge, not the other way around. There's a way. That's what all great teachers have talked about. How do you get there? You have to have a starting point. It can't just be blind faith. In this world, there's a duality. There's good, bad, light, dark, right, wrong,
Darth
night,
Vader,
day.
Luke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And and the same exists in cosmic power.
Yeah, you gotta be
when
careful.
yeah, exactly. And so the point is to overcome the quote unquote dark side, and many people get stuck in that in between. And they get carried away with the power, the energy, the force that's streaming into them, and they don't understand that it's an impersonal force and they have no personal control. So until you have that personal control, you have no idea what's happening to you. Okay? So until you can establish that control, you better be very careful.
Tonight is 44 minutes, and I need to start in 2 minutes to make it. So I'm gonna get ready.
There's a rock and some cliffs. There's a sea on its head and it won't let us swim. We should try this again. We can't let ourselves quit. We have to forget all the things that are dead. You're only as sweet as the streets are mean. Am I as good as it gets? You can't ask me.
Hello, Evelyn. This is Mason calling. It's about 10 of 5. I'm on my way.
Tucking your thumb under. That's it. Okay. That's right. There you go. And your body goes with you. And stop. Okay, that's the idea.
My mom lives here. Sister lives half an hour away. My dad lives in Randolph. Grandmother lives in Montpelier.
Only as sweet as the streets are mean. Am I as good as it gets? You can't ask me.
And in my choice of moving back here to where my family is and where everyone exists, where I grew up, living a life that far removed from how society currently operates would just, I don't know, I feel as though it would be sort of missing the point of being human and just experiencing life.
Am I as good as it gets? Don't ask me.
I was looking for a feeling outside of me when that feeling was inside me all the while. And now I don't have to go anywhere. I just am. All those feelings are inside, so I don't have to go climb mountains to experience me.
Did you have lunch today at an Indian restaurant?
No, somebody took me for photographs. They paid me $100.
To what? Have lunch?
Yes, to take different poses in the Indian restaurant. Somewhere on the road and everywhere.
You're saying that they paid you to take those photographs?
Yeah. They said they want some photos of me.
Eating?
Pretend to eat like that.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't understand why you'd want to be with food if you're telling everyone that you don't eat.
Also, definitely I don't eat. It's definite that I don't eat. I do take tea, coffee and buttermilk.
You're telling me you don't eat?
No, I never eat. And I've never eaten even today. It is only because they wanted me.
All right.
Can you show me the photographs?
Actually, he just came in at 11:30 and ate all the food.
What did he eat?
He started eating that one, and of course rice, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one right here.
They paid me, that's what I am telling you. Now that $100 they paid me.
Can I see the $100?
Yeah, it's in there. There. My bag. Have you got photographs?
But, he's going to have to come to terms with that someday on his own. Because you can't lie to yourself. I mean, you can, but it only will start ripping you up from the inside. Okay, we're just gonna go with this hand. Right here, just go this. I totally believe it's possible to live without food. And I don't know what filters we all have in us that we get set in a certain way and we just accept that. Part of what got me into sun gazing was I accepted nothing. Like, I didn't accept anything until I tasted it. And as soon as someone can get through one aspect of that and taste it on their own, then that'll help them believe. And once they get to that point, they're on their way.
You have a ticket in your pocket that would take us to the front, but we have to speak the language and we have to eat the young. And I don't eat, I drink. Well then all I do is start fights just to change my mind. So when you say something truthful, honey, I'll be switching sides. But for now, I can't feel anything.
I heard about HRM on the website about 9 months ago.
I'm up to 12 minutes and 30 seconds.
His lecture just reinforced exactly what I've been hearing. I'm looking forward to the pineal gland and even the DNA changes that I know are going to happen.
We'll see what happens after 9 months. The proof is in the pudding.
Sun gazing is addicting. Take it from me, it's addicting. You can't quit. You can't quit. You don't want to quit.
I think I would like to be with you.